Okay, I'll go ahead and call the Budget Committee meeting to order. We do have a set of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any addition or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, Aaron, turn it over to you, sir.
There's a couple things that aren't on the agenda. My bad on that. One of them is we're supposed to discuss the Learning Center out at the, I'll just jot it down here at the bottom. And also we're supposed to discuss the compensation for the judicial magistrate. But what is there, we can go ahead and go with Robert. The first one's you. You're here. Yeah, there you are. You need a.
No, I've got.
You got it. All right.
So tonight, just a request, pending your approval and Public Works approval. I got 3 HVAC units that need to be replaced. 2 are at the archives. 1 is in the OPOD for the jail. Those units, the OPOD unit, the heat exchanger, they're cracked, so we can't run any heat in those this winter time. The lead time on these units now is in about 30 to 40 weeks. So we're in a crunch now to get that in by winter time. That's when we're going to need that unit. The other 2 units are at the archives. They're in the vault, and one of those, the compressor is bad. One, we got leaks in it. The other one is on the brink right now, and we're actually putting water on it to keep the air running in the archives right now. So that's all of our documentations and things like that in there. It's got to be controlled. So we're looking at about $164,500 to cover those 3 units.
What'd you say, 164?
$164,500.
Oh. I thought this was something before.
Hey, it's come out of June fund.
We got it from capital projects right now. It says general, but the 189 is capital projects. It says general because it says county buildings as a department, but the 189 is what it should be.
I'm gonna ask the $1 million question, how much is in that fund?
12, more than 12 million, close to 13.
Okay.
We're out of warranty, right? On the
Yes, all these units are 16 years old.
Motion.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Is this subject to a Public Works meeting, or y'all just gonna send it on?
We were going to have call a public works meeting to approve or to ratify whatever you guys do tonight. If unless you decline it, then there'd be no reason.
Don't do it because of me, but it's up to y'all.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's necessary?
I don't know that you have a lot of choice, particularly with the ones at the archives. But I mean, you would think I would be saying particularly with the ones at the jail. I don't know very much about OPOD. That doesn't mean anything.
It's a female sales.
Okay.
So I mean, we've got to get something. Luckily, it's not an air issue.
Right.
Otherwise, it had to be done immediately.
Yes.
But since it's heat, we've got a little time, but we don't have much time because the lead on these units are so long.
The ones at the archives, are they special in some way?
Yes, those are special units.
Yeah, and that's because of the age of some of the stuff in there, preserving.
Right, preserving those, because you got to humidify, you got to dehumidify, you got to heat, you got to cool.
Yeah. So you risk losing some of the stuff you've got in archives if you don't.
Let's see, the other unit's limping along now, but we're putting water on it just to keep it from going off on high head.
Okay, so let me ask a question here. So can we go ahead and approve this and regardless of subject to Public Works, because if it's gonna take him 30 weeks, we don't need to wait no 3, 4, 5 weeks for him to get what he needs.
Correct. You can send it straight on before if you want to.
There's no chance of repairing them, they're old.
16 years old.
Just for FYI, the lever system that is down there now to repair it was $53,000.
We just need to go and replace them.
Yeah.
Fortunate enough to be
Who
able
made the
to.
motion? You make the motion?
I made a motion, but do we wanna go on and send it to the floor? I mean, I don't wanna wait because I know how important the archives are.
Change your motion to send it to the floor.
I make a motion that we send it straight to the commission floor. It's,
Second. And you get two
164.5.
signatures of that, right? Is that what
No,
you need?
no.
Just one? Okay, then.
We have a change of motion and second approved. We'll go ahead and send it to the floor.
cause I consider this as an
It
emergency.
is.
Any additional questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any not approving? Okay.
Thank you.
Next one's HR, Kiana. Do you have what you need? Or you,
Yeah, I have
okay.
it.
Hey.
Okay. So first, I would like to ask for 5256 for an applicant tracking system, Jazz HR. We were using Peter Bear's company, and IT was paying for that out of their budget. And they recently changed, and they have this core Engage that is not working for HR. So we did a trial run with this Jazz HR, and they're doing really great. Just a few examples. Animal control had a position. We posted it, no application. Posted on 4/25, no applications. We reposted it on 5/17, no applications. We posted to the news system on 6/2 and received 11 applications in 7 days. Corrections, real good with them, kind of same thing. March 2022, they received 13 applications. We posted to Core Civic site on 4/18, received 10 applications. And we posted it to the new site on 6/1 and received 29 applications. Wow. And to date, corrections is now averaging around 10 applications per week with this system. We posted the WEMA recruit, uncertified recruit, and they received 266 applications. So it's really doing well for all of the departments that we've sent it out to. So that is what we're asking for that.
So is this in their budget?
No, it is
No.
not.
Where is this coming,
This is coming out of fund balance in the general fund.
I'm good with it.
Is that part of the other charges?
The other charges, I think she was about to discuss, but that is the development of the step plan. That's what the 14 is.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead into that one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yes, so the 14 is for Burris Thompson and Associates to take the county. They did our pay plan and kind of set us up to go into the step system, but they are requesting not to exceed 14,000 to take us into this next step and fully implement us into the step system.
I can speak on that if you need me to. In talking with them, we worked out part of a step system this last time when we gave people, based on their years of service, entry level, 0 to 3 years, 3 years to 5 years. They're gonna come back and take exactly what they just did and put us in a step system. That step system could be 16, 18, 20 years, whatever it may be. And they're gonna plug us in there. That's probably gonna take a 2 or 3% raise that we would have to give next year just to get people in the category. But they would be able to put them in that category so everybody knows where they are. They would also then be able to come back to you and say, this is where everybody's at, and this is what the step increase is gonna be each year. What we would need to be able to come up with to say that. Now, when we get back to that, you could say to Aaron, you could say, hey, look, if it's going to be this percentage and this much money, we're just going to do that every year and never come back to you at all. Or you may say, no, we want every year to come back to the budget committee and say, we want to approve that. So it could be either off the top like we do longevity, or it could be approval. But we'll decide that later on at that time. But that would give people where they could move from one step to the next, either based on your improvement or not, but they will be in a step. You would say, well, if I'm in year 14, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm here 14 years, because you may not give them a step 1 year because we can't afford it or whatever. So, but they just know that they're in that particular category, in that particular step. The step also had a lot of controversy when we first started several years ago, because they said, okay, well, let's say your step plan stops at year 20, and there's no raise for that person going from year 20 to 21. That's not true about this one as well. whatever the increase is between the first step and the second step, whatever that increase of the step is, that person would get that. It just wouldn't be added to their salary. They would get, let's just say it's a $3,000 increase. They would get the $3,000 in a bonus check, but not added to their salary. That way they don't run that salary out of range. In other words, where you got executive assistant making $35,000, if she was here for 45 years and you gave her $3,000 on her salary, that salary would get to be more maybe than some of the other people, maybe some elected officials, and so it caps at that. So it covers that as well. But while we just got through doing that, this will actually put everybody in a system. Will be good. It will also generate money for people to start out at entry level, and then those people that leave, that money will turn back to Aaron to be able to pay for those people that cover that raise too. So that's another plus to it. If you choose to do that, the $14,000 will go for them to put that plan together. Again, that's probably a 2, 3, or 4% increase you'd have to do to make sure everybody got in the right fix. The next year would be the first year you'd actually move somebody a step. The following year would be the year you'd reevaluate your system, and then you'd be on a 2-year rotation each time to make sure we don't fall behind again. So
right now we've got a policy that states that if our growth money is such,
you would change that one based on, as you reviewed when they come back and started talking to us about this. I think that's when you would change that resolution to fit whatever your needs were going to be once you saw the step system, since our environment's changing.
would it have anything to do with longevity pay?
Longevity, as far as I'm concerned, would stay right where it's at. You wouldn't mess with longevity. We'd leave that where it's at, and then the step system would take care of what the step system. I mean, I wouldn't. That's be where I'm at, but I'm just one of 4 members that vote.
Okay.
And 25 that will make a full decision.
Okay, any other, is there a motion?
Let me question.
Let's get a motion and we'll go back to discussion.
I'll make the motion. Give me a second.
Is there a second? I'll second. Okay. Yes, go ahead, Tommy.
You said this was spend up to $14,000. Why can't they give us a price for the work, Mary, they did the first time? Wasn't it a set fee?
It was a set fee. Yeah.
I just, the reason I asked, and I'm not accusing you of that wrong.
So I can answer that question.
I ain't asking yet.
Yeah, so up to the 14. When they bid it this time, okay, and we got to saying, we need you to do this, we need you to do this, can you go back and do this? They really wanted to come back and charge me more money. And we said, hey, look, this is where you're at. Okay?
They're adding stuff to it.
Yeah, because we give them more work to do.
Well,
so that's why he said, I want to do this for
The
14.
reason I want to ask is if I was working for you and I know you appropriated up to $14,000, I'd find $14,000 worth of work. Now, that's as honest as I can be.
So I'm going to rephrase the question to you. They're willing to meet our needs and put us into a system and not charge us more than 14, even though the work may cost him more than 14. He said, I'll do this for 14, because I think this last one we got more.
So this is actually a $14,000.
It is a 14,000. He can't go up on me anymore.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
and he's
can
not
along
going to
with
go
that.
down on it. Yeah.
But I didn't want to reach 14,000 and him say, well, we hadn't completed it.
They ain't gonna never go down.
Yeah.
So just to add a little bit more, he's saying that it'll be about 60 to 80 hours. So if for some reason we get it to 60, then it should be less than 14. But like you said, I'm sure, if something will happen, it'll be 14.
I just wanted to cap on it so that he would, because this time he kind of came back and said, can I bill you for that? And I said, well, that's going to be hard. You need to go back and ask him for this.
I understand that, but you understand why I asked the question.
I got you. I'm good with it.
Okay, any other questions or concerns?
Good question.
Okay, all in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I don't know about this next one, y'all.
This one, Judge Tatum's here to talk about it, but it's actually the judicial magistrate. And what happened here, I didn't make a copy of this for everybody, but if y'all want to look at it, I should have looked at his name before I passed it over there. When Mr. Kennedy
David?
was hired, yes. I think what we had discussed was 100,000, and then by the time everything got over through HR, when he was actually, the offer letter that was put in front of him was for 104. He was not listed in the pay plan. because they couldn't find something that fit. They couldn't find another magistrate. He's not a judge. So they left him out altogether, which in my mind says he probably ought to get the 3% minimum that other people got, or not. That's your call. But he is right now at 104 is what he's at right now.
So this will be in addition to the 104, is what you're saying?
Well, we only
This
budgeted,
brings him to 104.
we only budgeted 100,000.
Okay.
We budgeted 100,000, the offer letter went out at 104. So he's making 104, so we need at least 4,000 to make the budget work. Question is, that's with the 3% also, what you're looking at there.
Is it
So-
worth the money, Judge?
Yes, absolutely. I'll tell you that.
It is, and if I could just add something to what Aaron said, the way it was calculated, $100,000, you figure a $2,000, a 2,000 hour a year full-time. You do the math, that works out to $50 an hour. So when it went over to HR for them to calculate it, and they said, okay, $50 an hour, and you got, they didn't look at it as based upon the hours, they looked at it on the weeks and the pay periods, and that's the reason you got that extra 4 in there. Didn't catch it until this thing came up about the adjustment, the 3% or whatever.
Yep.
And so Billy and I and Aaron had talked about it. We didn't know whether to garnish him and get him to pay that money back, or to just short him and hope we wouldn't notice it.
Probably
He was too
send
smart.
him on that road.
So, but David happened to walk in today, he didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And so he said,
Not
I
about the
just
little
signed the paperwork.
Yeah. To be clear, if this had been a mistake in inputting in the system, in other words, if we had handed Mr. Kennedy an offer letter for $100,000, but we had input it correctly into the system where he was actually going to make 104, that's when I would be in garnishment territory, because that's where, you know, a clerical mistake has caused him to be overpaid. In this case, I set a letter in front of him saying, will you accept this position for $104,000? So he is not overpaid, and you know, not based on what the offer was.
Okay, so I got a question, and you got 104 on this paper, but then it's got in here 7120, so is that 7120 plus 4,000?
We only budgeted, in the budget for his position is only 100,000.
Okay, so
So
what
the
is-
first 4,000 gets him to the 104.
Okay.
The rest of it gets him the 3% raise we were talking about.
So we're
So
talking
we're gonna hire him and give him a
11,120.
3% raise when we hire him.
Again, that is at your discretion. We can drop it back to 4,000, and then he would be at 104. Since he was going to be, in theory, he was going to be at 100 instead of to start with.
How long has he been on the job, Judge?
A little bit less than a year, started September 21, I believe, last year.
How much does it help you?
Helped me and Judge Hagan a good bit, because we're able to get to.
Motion to
long
approve.
term.
Second.
I was gonna say.
Mr. Collins.
Just cut you off.
Sorry, Judge.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. There's a second.
Second.
Any additional questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
When the pay study was done, the libraries, we got with Miss Alicia on this, and since the budget was adopted, when she saw the budget, she had vacant positions. Those vacant positions were not listed in the pay plan. So this takes care of the positions that were vacant, some in Lebanon, Mount Juliet, and Watertown, to put those in, because all we listed in the pay plan was those that were currently filled.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Now discussion.
We leave them out of something every year, don't we?
It's hard not to.
We
It's hard
do.
not to.
They don't make much noise over there.
Since you got
Aaron, how much, what's in our fund balance?
The estimate right now, which I should be done closing the books, if not tomorrow, then early next week, you're looking at about 26, 27 million.
Okay. Okay, no discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
The next one for the libraries also, that we allocate them, if y'all remember, going back several years, y'all have all, I think, been here long enough, that we used to just give the libraries money, and they spent their own money. So what we allocate to the libraries, even though now we pay their payroll, and they run some of their expenses through that we pay, that is still their money. It's money that we've allocated to them. So whatever they don't spend at the end of the year, we have to send it over to them as a contribution. So that's what this is.
So really, this is their money?
This is their money.
Motion.
Second.
We have a
There is-
motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just point of clarification, there is a maintenance of effort with the libraries, much like the school systems and other things. So this is their money.
All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Any opposed? Okay.
That brings us to the landfill. Miss Cindy, at the last Urban Type Facilities Board, she asked for a dozer, which she can come talk about the particulars of the dozer, but I believe, well, the cost is right there, $1,340,000, and you can read the rest. It was decided at that meeting, or recommended at that meeting, that she take that out of her fund balance. Well, her fund balance is right around $3 million, so you're talking about taking about half of her fund balance away, which exposes you if she has a fire out there or some sort of disaster. I realize there's insurance, I realize there's FEMA, but I wasn't completely comfortable, depending on what you want to do, I wasn't completely comfortable hitting her fund balance for that much, given that her fund balance of $3 million to me is probably about minimum that it needs to be. So I would turn around and recommend you do either a capital outlay note, or you consider taking this out of capital projects also. Although I would remind you that we did make some changes to capital projects. We're sending more money out of capital projects over to debt service than we have in the past. So we may not see the same amount of growth in capital projects that we have been seeing over the past couple of years.
So can I ask the question, can we take half out of her fund balance and half out of capital projects instead of taking the whole 1.34?
I don't see any reason why you couldn't do it that way if you so chose.
That kind of leaves her fund balance a little healthy, and still, it don't almost deplete ours.
Is the 200,000 trade-in off of that already?
Cindy?
It's not.
Okay, no.
So we're really looking at 11.
Yes,
I mean 1.1.
1.1.
That's the whole amount.
Oh, come
I'll be
on.
honest with you, we paid $854,000 for this in 2009. I talked to Quentin, he could probably use that dozer over at the fairgrounds. Now, the only thing is, he's looking at $120,000 worth of undercarriage work. It can't be done on site, it would have to go to Caterpillar. But they're 40 weeks out on getting parts, just like getting a new piece of equipment. So,
How many hours on the dozer?
it's got 5,017. And it's a waste handling, so you can imagine how hard it is.
The 5,000 hours, not a lot of hours on a machine like that.
It's not, but when we run it on, it kind of is.
Yes, sir.
I know when we talked about this, I know did we say the mechanic said he couldn't guarantee the work?
He couldn't guarantee the work, that's correct. You saw, they give a 1-year warranty on parts and 6 months on
But
workmanship,
this strictly for an undercarriage fault.
just for the undercarriage.
He
And-
couldn't guarantee it, that it would fix it.
Right.
Couldn't guarantee it fixed.
No. Because there's more sprockets and everything else that's tearing up under.
That's really.
I don't understand, if you put an undercarriage under the plate on it, what's left?
Well, we've got to have tracks, the tracks,
How far left there?
I've taken out so many tracks now, we've either got to replace the tracks completely, or,
That's not part of a new undercarriage?
no.
What are we getting for this kind of, what is it, 110,000?
Let's see. Yeah, I gotta do some. You're getting quite a bit of work, but it's still not, I mean, it's not, to be honest with you, it's not gonna hold up long out there.
But this is the original undercarriage it's on.
It's the original, everything's original under. Now, we have adjusted the tracks and worked on sprockets so much that it's so stretched out now. So. This week alone, I got 3 dozers, all 3 of them went down. We're using a track hauling on garbage today. And it's just, you just can't find the parts. So,
But you can get a dozer quicker than you can get the undercarriage?
no, same time amount for 40 weeks, so.
There's a whole long way between 110,000 and 1,000,003.
Sure.
I don't know.
You made a
I
motion?
made a motion for half to come out of their fund balance and half to come out of capital projects, but I don't know if I got a second. I thought I did, but I don't know from who.
Well, I'll second it for further discussion. At this point, so the 200,000 is, if we do the trade-in, the 200,000 would come off of that 1.3 million.
Correct.
Okay, so we're looking at 1.140, 567.01. Had to throw that penny in there.
So we have $500,000 on both sides.
Mhm.
About a 550,000.
550. Okay, any other discussion?
I have a question.
Yes,
Is there
sir.
a lease option?
There is, but it's really high, and if you can get one, it'll be high. Smith County's leasing right now, and they burned 3 up in about 2 months. So, wow. I mean, it's hard on this type of waste.
It is your best option.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me, either way.
But how do
But
you-
I've got to have it with the waste handling package.
But you feel like it's your best option.
I do, and I just thought, I don't know what kind of clearing work Quentin's got to do over there, but I would say the fairgrounds, it would be a lot easier over there than on garbage. So it might be worth it to repair it for him, but
Instead of trading.
instead of trading it in, $2,000, I mean, 200,000 is not much, and we paid $850 for it.
Gotcha.
We bought it 2009.
The part about sending it to the ag center bothers me, because if it's causing that kind of problem, you're gonna have to spend money on it, that number's, it's gonna be a big problem for the ag center to keep it up. We'd be better off going around and buying them something new for that kind of money to have out there, in my opinion.
What is something large enough over there in that area that would need a full-size dozer?
Sir?
What over the fairgrounds would need a full-size
There's a lot of
dozer?
woods and bluffs over there where we purchase land that are gonna have to be cleared in the future. And, there's no doubt the dozer could be used, but do we wanna send it out there and then go hit the ag center fund balance for this kind of numbers to keep it up? Or, I don't know exactly, but you can buy a brand new 953 Caterpillar loader for around $250,000.
Okay, as of right now, the motion is to split the cost of the new 2023 Caterpillar with $550,000 coming from 2 different locations. Is there any additional comments or concerns?
Good on that, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion? There is a motion and approve. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Let me understand, is the motion to trade the dozer or to send it to the ag center?
It's
Trade.
it.
Trade it.
Yeah, because that's what, $200,000 trade-in.
And we got half of it coming out of the solid waste fund balance and the other half coming out of capital projects.
Well, could we take the $200,000 and dedicate it to purchase a machine at the ag center?
But they're doing that as a trade-in, and then we'd have to add that back to the 2.
We'd have to add it back. But
Yeah,
we were just
1.5.
talking about giving it to them.
You take it off and go half and half, 550, 550, and the 200,000, whether you give it to ag center or not, will still just come out of fund balance either way, so you can just leave it flat.
But it's
If you wanna
easier to
take
get
out
it
how
right
much
now
you
than it
could.
is have to come after 200.
I would just come out of fund balance with it now, and she would come out with hers to go with it, in my opinion, am I right?
So are we changing the motion?
No.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Unanimous?
Aaron, I need a budget amendment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see. Just to answer the question before it's asked, there's no matching funds on this. This is a grant for animal-friendly spay and neuter for animal control.
She said it was no match.
No match.
So moved.
Second.
And it's $1,100?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve a $1,100 grant for animal control. Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And last thing, I don't know so we did cover the magistrate. That was on the agenda. It was in the budget amendments. The other thing was the learning center. I think there's a recommendation. Is this coming from the Ag Management Committee, or is this something you're bringing up?
Something I'm bringing.
Okay, I'll let you speak to it then.
I think everybody here knows about it. We've been dealing with it for the last 2 or 3 years. But I'd love to ask the county to put $2 million into the Ag Learning Center to be erected at the James E. Ward Ag Center. And it'll strictly be not strictly, but the main focus is for education on agriculture. And this will be enough with what's on hand, what's been contributed, and the $1 million that came from the state when they brought the state fair here. This will completely erect the building and complete the outside of it, and then we can go to work on the inside as far as the educational portion of it. And we will have to have a contract with Mr. Edwards. We'll have to work that out, make everything for all parties involved good to go forward. But I'd love to appropriate the money tonight as far as returning it to the county commission on the 15th.
Okay, question, where would the money come from?
Capital projects.
Sure.
Before we do this, I'd like to come back before the Ag Center management meeting. It didn't come before us. We vote on what comes through the Ag Center, so therefore I think we should vote on it first. I'm not against it, don't misunderstand me.
I don't want to be a problem, but now Terry, you know why it didn't come before the Ag Center committee. I called and asked you to schedule a meeting before this budget committee meeting, and
I had so many days to do it, and I didn't get it.
You had, when you got my phone call, you had the days. I can count, and you can too. And I understand you can't put it together. Maybe that's why. But I did ask you for a meeting before this budget committee meeting. And I don't really know that we need to, because we've already approved the plans and already approved the site. But this is for appropriating the money. This isn't really about the building at this point.
My understanding, this building is supposed to be matching Q barn. It's been changed.
No, the minutes don't state that it matched the Q barn.
Well, yes, it does.
No, it was talked about by Mr. Terry McPeak that it would be similar to the Q barn when it was first arose.
I believe it says it right there, man.
You could have read it out loud.
I could. And I think reading that one, did we have our meeting in the commission room where we got everybody together?
Yes.
After that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when that came after that, that's where we approved, over there is where you approved the space for it and you approved the plans that are there, which are different from, I think that was the early suggestion, but I think we ended up approving the plans, the last plans that we had.
It plainly says possibly another barn like the Q barn. We never voted on the plans of the building at this time.
We did approve those plans. I do think, going back,
It's been changed so many times.
the only thing, nothing can be changed after, unless you guys go back and redo it, after the plans that you approved, the last plans that you approved, that we approved in there, we got both groups together to decide if it was going to be, because, you know, the conversation came up at that time about making it a pole barn, not a tie space first, and then adding on later, and then everybody agreed in there and had the meeting to say, look, we're going to leave it as designed, and so that's where it left. Now, I do agree with what Commissioner Jones says, and I think his intent is to put $2 million with it so that the $2.5 million that's already raised will make this building look from the outside complete.
Exactly.
And that's the goal. I do believe that if you do appropriate the money, we must find a good resolution and contract of how this thing works, because on the intent was it sets inside of the Q barn area, and all of those pole barns, and the Ag Center director had already said to me, he said, you know, if this is not like most buildings to where it's rentable, usable all the time, and we talked about it not being like that because of the special needs that we wanted to get out of it, therefore, it could cause logistic problem. And then we also talked to Mr. Maynard about probably couldn't be any funds coming out of there simply because that would be a restriction. It couldn't be a private facility on public ground and receive funds in like had before. And we had that discussion. So definitely a lot of details would need to be determined before we actually.
But that could be worked out with the contract.
If that's what the committee wants to do, you'd have to have. I would want that just on my side, just so I don't, because I'm in the middle of every
I
argument.
understand perfectly on that part of it.
So so now I don't know if October was after our meeting or before. I just know the last meeting I remember having.
That was actually before the meeting here at the courthouse.
Okay.
But like I say, we didn't take a vote. That was just in a conversation there, and the minutes reflect that.
Okay.
I still would like to have a meeting with the Ag Center.
That's no trouble.
Well, could we approve it subject to the Ag Center, Ag meeting?
You could.
I'll make a motion then.
What is your motion?
Motion to take $2 million from capital projects to go toward the agriculture education facility, and no funds will be released until a contract is completed and signed and agreeable between the county mayor, Mr. Edwards.
Subject to Ag Center meeting?
Subject to the Ag Center meeting, but I still don't know if we vote no over there, we can't appropriate money. You'll have to tell me, Aaron. The Ag Center can't appropriate money.
I don't know that I've seen it happen. This may be the first time. I'm sure the county attorney has seen it happen. Most of the time when we pass something through budget, it's not unusual for us to pass something pending another committee's approval, okay? But usually that approval is cursory. You pretty well know you're going to get it. I don't know that I've seen it happen before where it came out of here and went to that committee and died. But if it did die in that committee, then I assume we would pull that resolution out of the packet. It would still be able to be brought up on the floor. But I will defer that to the county attorney.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, the only question I have, Mike, is does the Ag Center Committee have any authority with county funds?
No, but neither does all of these other committees that recommend stuff up to the budget committee. And it always comes ultimately to the county commission. But even if the Ag Center management people say we're not going along with this, you can still bring it to the floor.
Just because it passed through here, right?
Yeah, we don't have it happen often, but I can remember 2 or 3 cases where it came up there with no recommendation or the committee voted against it, but the sponsor wanted to send it anyway.
I do want to state, I wish you'd put this in the minutes, the Ag Center Committee has already voted to approve the plans of this building and a location. Now, that doesn't mean we can't work on the location and change it, but it's been approved.
Yes.
Isn't that correct, Mayor?
It is. But I will say that our thoughts about how that building's gonna operate is different than maybe the conception of approving it, the logistics. And so I think,
Now, when you say operate, that goes back to our contract we're talking about, correct?
I think that's
And
a piece
I'm making
I
that
need.
subject to us approving a contract.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with the part, it was approved here, at this location and the building. But the intent was the ag would actually would have it the
I
other
understand
11
that
months.
part.
So I would like to have that resolution.
I understand that part.
That just saves all of us a lot of trouble.
Okay, we have a motion. Did you second
I
that?
second.
It has been seconded. Questions?
Okay, well, Wilson County Promotions, are they considered a private, just like this would be for their building that they're in out there? Is that the same concept? I'm just asking.
So the one that, and I called Jeff Bailey today, who's the audit manager for this area, and asked him about it, because what was said, what I had heard was, wait a minute, you can't have another organization benefit from the rental of a building that the county owns, which immediately brought me to, well, how do you deal then with Friends of Fiddler's Grove? So according to Mr. Bailey, they didn't take exception to, he showed me the finding that was back in 2020. They didn't take exception to, it was promotions, I think, receiving some money or whatever. They didn't take exception to that. What they took exception to was there was no agreement, there was no contract for putting on the fair. No clearly defined who was responsible for what, who got what benefit. That's what they took exception to. So I think I don't think it would work if you were talking about using a private citizen, but using a nonprofit or something like that. I will quote Mr. Bailey to say, I'm not aware of anything that would prohibit that, if that's what you choose to do, as long as it's a nonprofit organization.
Okay, another question. So Mr. Edwards is back there, I saw him. So if he does this building, he would be responsible for the building, for the utilities, for everything.
I don't think, now, I don't know that, because I don't know what y'all have, that is one of a million things that we have to work out. That's why Mr. Jones and I had the opportunity to speak on the phone today. Tommy knows the position, it was why he said pending the contract, because what you're talking about with promotions, where nobody knows their duties, responsibilities, and their privileges, that's exactly where we are right now. We have
Because I understand they don't pay any rent, they don't pay any utilities for the building, but they're asking for $300,000 out of state money to add on to a building that's really not their building.
and that, I'm not
Am I
privy to
correct on
that.
that?
I'm not privy to that at this time.
Is that what you understand? It was in the list that they gave us at the last county commission meeting, that $300,000
I
would be
did.
to add
Yeah.
onto their building.
Oh, their office building.
Their office
Oh,
building,
okay.
which legally
Yeah.
is not their building, is that correct?
No, every building out there that I'm aware of, unless the mayor or the county attorney corrects me, every building out there belongs to the county.
Okay.
It goes on county property, it's ours.
Yeah.
Even if they add it
Well, I
in
just
there.
saw that 300,000, and then I know they don't pay any rent, I know they don't pay any utilities.
Mhm.
So I didn't know how that would work with this one.
The contract will say,
So
we're gonna take care of those types of topics.
Okay.
So it's gonna be in black and white.
Okay, I'm good with that.
With the contract.
Yes, the
Contract
contract, the
contract
contract.
here at all.
Yes.
In fairness to them, I'm not on the fair board or anything else. In fairness to them, I think sometimes it's important to bring out, they pay us $120,000, $130,000, $150,000 in dollar ticket surcharge. They pay us overtime that the sheriff's department works out there. They do pay us a lot. And plus making improvements to the fairground, so.
But no cost.
Yeah, so I just don't want it to sound like they're just, out there not
So when we
participating.
say building, that's what
I will, and again, that's y'all's call, whether or not you expand that building.
I think to add to your conversation, I think with both of those, what's happened since that time is that we do have a contract with the fair. We have a contract with Fiddler's Grove. They're both 501c3s. And so the contract with the fair, for example, that we have, they specify the dates. They do have the building out there, but everything made above and beyond what their expenses are goes back into the ag center. That becomes what we would consider their rent. That's $300,000 to $500,000 a year. That's, again, you guys know that because y'all decide where that money goes along with the fair. So that is their part. So if they take $300,000, say from the state allegations, and want to add to our building out there, it's just going to us. Yes, it's where they are housed at, but it's still just going to us. It becomes ours, and so I think the same thing here with this. If we're going to have at least what we talked about was maybe a year's lease to look at this to say, okay, if we think it can be exclusively with the Ag Learning Center, just be by itself, not be rented out by the county, you know, how many days out of that year does Mr. Edwards actually use it? And after a year looking back at it, you may say, okay, maybe the contract needs to be tweaked. You know, we only used it 50 days. We could rent it out for this other time. So, but I think the contract has got to just spell it out. But I think that's what keeps us in line now with Fiddler's Grove and with the fair. And I think, and he had talked about doing a 501c3. I don't know if he's going to do that or not. Right now he's with Fiddler's Grove Foundation, I believe. But so I think that would have to be in place too. But I think all in all, we just need to have a good contract going forward, or we don't spend the $2 million. If we don't have a good contract that the Ag Center and everybody agrees on, then we stay where we're at. I mean,
I'm behind the Learning Center 100%, and I know you're not talking about the 501c3 versus using it. I think Wilson County Promotions has a 501c6,
Yes,
which
ma'am.
means not-for-profit, and Fiddler's Grove is 501c3, which means not-for-profit.
Yes, you're correct, yes.
Okay, is there any additional questions or
Chad
concerns?
had a question.
No, just,
Okay.
heaven see.
Did you have something? No. Okay. Anybody else have comment that they'd like to make?
Mr. Edwards wants to speak, I think.
Yes,
Let's say.
thank y'all for looking at this. But our goal, and I say our goal, Jenny, Wise, different ones, Gary, different ones that's involved in backing in kind of this project. Our goal is, main thing is education, and on this project. Lucas, we've been talking to Lucas and different FFA. We want them to have a place that it's hard for Quentin. In the minutes, I believe that FFA uses a building, or 4-H uses a building, they don't have to pay rent. Where our goal is to have a place that the kitchens in the building, as y'all saw on the plans, there's a banquet room upstairs, all of that, to where Lucas can have a place to actually take the kids, canning classes, cooking classes. But my whole point of this is our goal is to work with Quentin, not just for us. We want to work with Quentin. Quentin's got an indoor arena to use. It's heated and aired for us, forced air ventilation, that we can work with him too. But our goal is for the building to maintain itself. In other words, to take care of itself. We've had people that even want to help maintain the building monthly, yearly, for the educational part. So I want to say that. And I do thank y'all for looking at this. We want everybody to be proud of it at this point. Got any questions for me? Ask me.
I will add to what he said, just so we're clear, because I know this will come back up later. Me and Lucas have talked a little bit. They had, a while back, if you remember, Ruth Carell brought to us about making the Ag Extension building a little bit larger. At the time, we didn't have the funds to be able to take care of that. We've re-looked at that, and that's somewhere in the range of about $800,000 that I'll probably come back and bring to Public Works at some point to add that on. We've had some preliminary discussions. So that is still needed for Lucas to continue to control and do his business, but his cattle stuff can be had out there and maybe take pressure off. So I didn't want you to come back later on and say, well, you know, wait a minute, we're just going to put Lucas out here. Now you're asking for more money for him. So both of those are intertwined and needed. They'll start out in Public Works and work their way up, and you'll decide what you want to do. But there is a need for him to have room at his place, but then yet also he could use the Agriculture Learning Center as well. So just
Can I say something?
take credit.
We're wanting this for the school system too to use, you know, our local students too.
Yeah, he said that. I think Mr. Edwards said that.
And the only thing I have is that I don't want us to get the cart before the horse, and I want us to do it correctly. But this would be another feather in our hat out there on the fairgrounds, and it would be a wonderful addition. And of course, if you know who I am, you know that I like anything dealing with educational facilities. So, and that's what this would be. So I hope we can get it done one way or the other. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Mayor, do you have anything concerning the state versus Wilson County 109 stuff?
That's what you and I talked about. I hadn't had a chance to look at, talk to you last day.
I did have a proposal from an appraisal group that talked about that they could do that. They were looking into that for us and maybe see if they could get us some extra money. But he could not guarantee me the money that would be above and beyond what it was going to cost me to invest in it, which was about $7,200. So I don't have a guarantee there. I do know that you mentioned about making an appeal for extra dollars, and so I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, and let me refresh everybody's memory. When it started expanded 109, it started condemning property. And they condemned two pieces of property that we had with the fire station. One was just a tiny corner, something like this, and we got a couple of $1,000 or something for it. And there's another little piece down there, a little bigger. And they have offered, they deposited $25,000 into court, and then they're trying to, now that the project is complete, most people who had their property condemned have the right, everybody has the right to wait till the project is complete. So now the project's complete and they're trying to settle these things. So to get it settled, they bumped their offer up from 25 to 30, whatever it was. I'll scroll past it. Well, you got a good phone there. $30,500. So the question is, they're telling me we want to settle it or let's set it for trial. I don't think we gain anything by going to trial. But on the other hand, they don't either. So the mayor and I talked about it, and he thought he had a possibility to get somebody to do an appraisal that could maybe bump us up there to where I could legitimately go back and say I need X amount of dollars. What I think I heard the mayor say is they'll charge us so much they can't guarantee that we'll get more than what we pay them. So in my mind then the fallback position is let me go back with no support and just say, well, my folks want to get it settled too, but we'll take 40,000 instead of 30 and see what they say. And then just give me the right to negotiate with them in between, and let's get this thing resolved. I think by the
How large a piece of property is it, Mayor? Do you know?
not very big. It's less than a half acre, I think. I didn't look at it today.
It's cheap for a half
Tom
acre.
and
I got a question too after Bob.
Cheap for a half acre.
2,500 square feet. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That was the one we settled for. We settled it for $7,200. I did better than I thought. This one, I didn't put it in there, Tommy, but it's less than an acre.
I hope so.
Yeah, it is.
It's cheap for
It was on the corner of the fire hall down there.
I don't know if things have changed, but typically, back in the day when we were doing a lot of that in Mount Chili, TDOT kind of conceded to about 10%.
Yeah.
Just to save their attorney, they have attorney fees too.
Yeah.
So I just want to go 20% or something, see what happens.
Yeah, I was just thinking go from 30 to 40, that's really 33%, and see what they come back. Bruce Butler's handling that for the state, and they want to get them resolved, and in the grand scheme of things, this is not the biggest one they got left. Because I've got to file, every one of them they filed goes into my filing cabinet. I have nothing to do with it other than that they list Wilson County as a defendant to make sure the taxes get paid. So all that paperwork that passes back and forth comes through my office. And I never look at it until it's time to try to settle it. As long as the taxes are paid, that's the only interest we've got, except this, we have an ownership interest. So I guess I would, unless y'all want me to offer higher or lower, you tell me, I don't mind.
If this helps make the decision, that's in my district, and I was on them pretty hot and heavy about, can y'all help us pay WEMA? They're like, it's not in the contract. And I said, well, it would really help us out. So they did pay WEMA for us.
Oh. Wow.
Okay.
So that, if that helps y'all.
40
Yeah,
sounds
that was a
good.
pretty good
That's cheap,
chunk of
right?
paving they did.
That is.
So,
They paid that before the oil prices went up.
yes, sir, right before. I talked to all of them. I finally said, I'm the county commissioner out there. And they said, well, I'm the supervisor. And I said, well, any help we could get, you know, it was, you know,
It's a good deal.
stirs up the dust within trucks.
Sure.
So,
Y'all just tell me what you want me to offer. If you want me to offer, if you wanna go try, we will, but
I try the
we'll have to hire an
40,000, but
expert
that's
and
a-
all that stuff.
40,000 is a deal. They should consider and take it because that's cheap for an acre.
Well, if I say 40 and they come right back and say we got a deal, I'm gonna feel bad.
Well, okay, so
'Cause I left some money on the
65. Say 65 then, negotiate
Say what?
down.
65?
65. Maybe you'll get 60.
You want me to get a cussing before you
That's
go
all
out?
right. That's all right. You used to it.
Yeah, I am. I'm getting, yeah.
Well, since
Yeah.
they did pave, since they did pave the WEMA,
Yeah.
I would say 40 would be adequate. I would think.
45. Make them think. Yeah,
Okay.
Make a motion.
Motion, I'm still saying 65, but y'all do it, y'all.
Well, no, well, you
I
got
just need to know what to write down.
What do you need? How much?
40, he said 40.
I just threw that out there. Y'all want more.
That's cheap for an acre. I'm
What
sorry.
was the-
Well, it ain't an acre. It's
Okay.
not an acre,
Okay.
no.
Okay,
What was the amount?
Half acre.
30,005.
500?
And he wants to go to 40.
That's good.
80,000.
Yeah.
The offer on the table from them is 30,500.
So we'll say 40,500.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Okay.
Or his motion,
No.
whoever.
All right, I'm gonna put you down because you ain't gonna be around much longer.
Be all right. They'll find me.
I'm gonna give you
They
credit.
will find me, trust me.
I'm gonna give you credit.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All right.
We have a motion and a second to ask for $40,500 for
And
the,
included in that is y'all giving me the room to negotiate and settle this thing.
No,
I hope.
yeah.
I don't have to bring it back to you.
Mhm.
Is that
That's
good enough
fair.
for that? All right.
fine with me.
Check.
All right.
Okay, any other questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mayor?
Okay. I'm gonna try to be as precise and as quick as I can. It'll take me just a few minutes to go through this, but this is concerning the ARP funds that we've gotten. And I've got packets for my commissioners that are here that would like to see this, that have all the details on the inside of it. I wanna cover the first thing, if I can, with you. And I only have enough of these for the budget committee members, and you'll see why in a minute that it really doesn't really matter. I'm sorry. This packet that I've got right here on the first sheet that I gave to them, I'm gonna give extras for the main.
Get up here, you read.
What you're looking at right here is that TDEC took some ARP funds and gave them to the county to be able to give to the utility districts. They allotted us $4,579,000. Also, Watertown got $699,000, Mount Jude got $2.5 million, Lebanon got $3.9 million. And that's money that's set aside, given to the county or the cities that the utility districts can apply for. So that money set aside doesn't come through us, it's just grants that are out there.
Have I got that yet?
So, yes, sir.
I've already got that money?
Yeah, it's there for you, it's there for you to apply.
That's different. It's there for me to apply for.
Yes,
It's not in my
it's
bank account.
That's right.
Okay.
So,
That's gonna be a nice chunk.
He didn't
So-
go no further than that top line, did he?
you did.
Well, that's on the top.
That's why I haven't passed
Where it
this
ought to
stuff out. So with these TDEC funds, we met with LaGuardia, Gladeville, West Wilson, and Wilson County Water and Wastewater Authority. And with that group, they continue to discuss about, okay, we will all ask for $1 million apiece, and we'll give the $1.5 million to Wilson County Water and Wastewater Authority. That was their thought process. So there's $1 million out there. They have in this packet that I gave you, they submitted what they would like to us to apply for. Christy Willie in our office is working that grant. and she's gonna work to see about getting these grants accepted. There's a scorecard and all that's gotta go with it, but that's the way we're going to extinguish these funds. The only thing different is that I may look at $500,000, Chris, since Chris is here, for stormwater project out of this, because that would qualify as well. We'll talk about that later on. But that's, so I want you to know that utility districts are going to get this much already, okay? Now, the packet that I'm going to give you now, and I will give these, I think I've got enough for everybody to have one here that's here. It definitely don't look like it, but
Mayor, while you're passing that out,
Yeah.
is there anything, do I need to prepare anything for the county commission this time?
sir,
Do I need to, on the TDEC grants, do I need to prepare anything for the county
No,
commission this time?
yeah, nothing needs to be done.
Okay, nothing this time, okay.
If you give those to commissioners, that would be good. Give them what you need. Okay. So I'll wait till you get your packet before I start talking, but I do, but I need it. Let me swap.
Right here, right here is where we're at right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
I do.
Yeah.
Got extra? And then, Mr. Brown, you give these out.
Hey, Rick. I'm okay, buddy. Mr. Richard.
Let me have three,
Why is
four
this
of
one so
those.
thin?
Because one of them is done front and back pages the same paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not trying to cheat.
I think it's
Okay. You should have your paper in front of you now. Just let me go through this with you. Listen to me if you can, before we ask some questions. The funds that we got on 6/7/21 was $14,048,000. We got another set of funds on 6/7/22, $14 million. So you got $28 million total, okay? If you remember, we had two meetings. We had one in October and we had one in February where we've already talked about this. The one in February is when you met and you talked about the broadband, about trying to get them some allocations right quick so they could qualify for state grants possibly as matched. Nobody qualified for state match. So that resolution is done away with since nobody got any of that money, okay? So that money you set aside allocated for a state grant match is done away since they didn't get anything. So that's off the table. So we waited for the final rule to come out because the federal government said, hey, we want to tell you how to spend this money. And when they came out, they gave you 5 ways to spend it. Water, sewer, broadband, COVID-related situations that deal with medical, and COVID-related situations that dealt with employees' compensation. So that's the 5 categories. Now, CTAS came out and said, and I have a statement in here from Wesley Robinson, that said that, hey, you could qualify, according to their opinion, through a formula that really you could spend these funds any way you wanted to because of the revenue loss that we did. Aaron, that we had. You would have thought we'd had revenue loss, but according to them, we did, and several other counties did as well. So that's in here. But Aaron went through the formula. He looked at it. He feels sort of good with it. We could base this off a letter that we got from CTAS. But we have really said, okay, that's great. We're glad that. But we still want to go by the rule that says, here's where the federal government wants to spend the money. So let's stay with that particular agenda. So that's what we're doing with that. If you can see below there, there are 3 things that we've already spent money on, okay? We spent $1.7 million on Weymouth Station 10 and 3. The compensation for employee essential pay work was $3.2 million. And then the radio system for Wilson County Sheriff's Office and Weymouth was $2.3. So you're down to $19,762,000. That month, those expenditures was sent to the Horn Group to make sure that we did it right. So the federal government said, hey, I'm going to give you this money. You can expend it within our agenda. If you spend it wrong, you're going to have to pay it back. If you give it to West Wilson and we don't approve your project when we get your application, then West Wilson's got their money and you're going to have to give us our money back because you spent it unwisely. So that's where the Horn Group came in. So now Aaron took those 3 first projects and sent it to them and said, hey, if the Horn Group says it's got thumbs up, then we know those projects are good and they're legit. So what I would ask you to do tonight, as you consider this, if you consider any of these projects, you could pass a resolution tonight saying, well, let's go with this one, and this one, pass a resolution on to the county commission based on the fact that if the Horn Group says it's good, then we'll go play ball. If they say no, then we don't play ball. So you can establish some of those things tonight if you'd like to.
Has the Horn Group already approved these 3?
The 3 is done.
Yes.
Yeah, they've been approved, so
Okay.
we're good to go on those. So what I'm going to present to you tonight is everything that I've been submitted to of people that want money. There's more money here. There's more wants than I got money. That we got money. So if you see any of them that you want, that's fine. If you say, look, you know, this is too much for me to think about tonight, let me just take it home and look at it, that's fine. We have a workshop scheduled for the 9th that's here that you could say, I like that one, and that one. Well, let's bring some people back in on the 9th and drill down a little bit more. Or you could put it off to next month. It really, we got to 2026 to obligate the money. They are considering waiting to 2027 to obligate the money just because of the lack of materials and construction workers out there. And that's the deadline from the federal government. It just has to be initiated. The project don't have to be completed. But we got people that say, hey, look, we got people needing water. Why don't we go ahead and do this and move on? And so you can make those moves tonight as well. So as you look at page 2, you see everything that has been asked for there, starting with the Wilson County Water and Wastewater Authority at $5 million. And Chris is here tonight. I didn't ask anybody to come tonight to try to, because we've already had kind of some of those explanations. But if you want explanations and you want to bring people back in, let's say to talk about broadband or whatever, I'd be glad to do that. That's not a problem. So tonight is the first, is maybe the first glance at this. Some of this may be simple, you want to move on it right now, and some you may say, let's talk about it. So you see the 4 the water projects that are there, okay? And they have submitted projects that they believe that are worthy, that will serve, and the details of those projects are in this packet. The sewer extension between where the sewer comes and the new station there, that's there because it's a sewer project. You could say, hey, look, let's wait on that. We got some development coming. Let's see if anybody else is going to do anything. Or you could say, let's expand it inlet if you want to. That's no problem. DTC broadband at $800,000. They redid their proposal from the first one they gave you, and they said, hey, we can service new people. You'll see in here for $800,000. That's new people's going to get it. United Communications, you'll see that's the separate sheet that I just gave you. I just got that one today. That's where they're teaming up with Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing broadband not only to unserved areas, but also competition for people, you know, to have a choice now about internet service. So that one's in there. Then you see the Ag Center expansion. I have 2 people now that would like to make a bid on that, being DTC and United Communications. So I really can't allocate money for that. I probably would need to bid that one out. As for these other ones have their own jurisdictions, so they don't really need to be a bid because only people that can actually serve are the people that's actually putting the bid in. So on that one, if you wanted to set aside $500,000 and then go back and let's do some specs on that, I could do that. You could tell me no on that. The courthouse, you'll see in there, HVAC improvements, that would be for this courthouse right here. Those are part of the health-related obligations. We do believe they will qualify. The 3 ambulances for WEMA would qualify, 1 for Lebanon, Mount Judah, and a spare. Self-insurance fund that we have here, these are COVID-related issues that related to COVID that we expended off of our health insurance. That's $1.8 million. You could do that. You would say senior rides, that's $600,000. That is for the program that got started to get senior rides through volunteers. That's 3 years worth of their budget in order to keep them sustainable. That qualifies on the fact that, you know, during all this time, seniors having to get from place to place and not having an opportunity, that's where that one would qualify. And the last one, which is about $5,000, is a 211 service that United Way supplies, and that's where somebody can call 211 if they're needing any kind of service or help. You go to that line and they direct you to where to go. And of course, there's an explanation for that one in there as well. So those are all the projects that have been submitted to me for you to consider. let's stop for just a second. Any questions
Does
on
that
this?
add up to the 19.7?
No, sir, I would love to say, that was like we do budget, but it don't. And I couldn't choose which was which, and so I just grouped them in. If you noticed how I grouped them in water, sewer, broadband, and then COVID-related issues. And so now you
How
choose,
much
there's no
does
way.
it take
What is
to
the
do
total?
Landfill?
I did not total it.
I will.
I couldn't go that
I
route,
was,
so.
Sounds like we need
I was
another
trying to total the water amount. 'cause I think it's due.
Just let me do it in my head real quick.
This might just be a typo.
You're gonna be at about 21 or 22 million.
That's what Gladeville asked for, and then we got
And that, and then we could do that.
So
They
it might
do.
just be. a-
So if you look back at some previous notes about what Gladeville did, just like Diane just did, remember, I reached back out to them because we talked to them in October of 21. I reached back out to them and I said, okay, resharpen your pencil. Chris did, went from 3 million to 5. You know, the other ones went up 500,000 on this one because the cost of things have gone up. For them to do the project they said they would do for us, those numbers went up. So you may see a difference between those numbers, but these are the latest numbers, and what's in the packet are the latest data that they gave me as of 2 or 3 weeks ago, okay?
Did anything come to you about expanding the rail line in Lebanon?
So let's talk about that. Commissioner McFarland asked about the Watertown turntable. There is the second bill coming from the federal government, from the Biden administration about infrastructure that deals with transportation. That's where that would come up, and that's where that would come up. So those would come through that transportation bill there. This one does not allow for transportation involved in it. Yes. Other questions?
You're at,
I got a question. One of these on here, which I'm on the WEMA committee, and I know we passed 2 or 3 years past the bucket on the ambulance. That's pretty critical that I see.
It is critical, and as Brian, if you'll see the letter in there from Brian, the lead time, just like she talked about the Caterpillar, is way out there.
Way out there.
So the sooner you decide to do that, the more money you're gonna save on the bid that he has right now.
Right.
And also the lead time to get them in here. And I did ask, can we not find a used ambulance? And he said they are none right now to be found anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's your
Mayor-
opinion on that?
Opinion is good on that, yes, sir.
I
I
thought
think
we had 3 of those on order.
we do not. We do not.
Mayor?
They have the ones that are in their budget on order, okay, which, we have so much money set aside each year, 220,000, I think, to do that, and we also have money for fire trucks in there now as well. So those that they have money for is, but this would be in addition to. This would be the 3rd ambulance in Lebanon, the 3rd one in Mount Juliet, and a spare to go, because now the total number of ambulances we have, we need to add another spare to that.
Mayor, on this broadband under United Communications?
Yes.
This,
That is my fault on that, because he did lower that to 1.5. So what you see on there is 2.5, it should be 1.5.
Okay.
But I just got that back today.
Gotcha.
So
yeah,
that saves you $1 million, sorry.
take $1 million off.
Yeah.
So take $1 million off of the 19.
Yeah.
No, take your $1 million
No,
off
take
of the
it.
2.5 of United Communications,
Yeah.
and make that 1.5.
I got 22,312,945 for the total of everything.
22.
Say that how much?
22,312,945.
So what's the difference between that and the 19 million that we got?
About 3 million.
Does that total, Aaron, does that include the 2.5 or the?
No, I just backed the million off. I had 23 to begin with.
What'd he say?
22,315.
22,312,945.
And 1 cent on.
Yeah.
22.
Tell you what, my writing is getting so bad.
4,550,460.
Is that including all those filters and things that we discussed about at one
I
time?
need to take more arthritis medicine.
Whatever it has in it. It's a train proposal to revamp our system that we have now.
Those filters that were supposed to kill the germs and things?
Yes, it would have the UV stuff in it.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And it was a whole lot of money.
I don't think Robert's here.
236 on that, 236,000 on that.
If I remember,
That's part of that. But I think you'll see that in that proposal if you look in there.
Well, I understand. Let's, can I make a motion?
What's the,
A small-
can I ask a quick question?
Small.
What was the difference?
4,550,460.
How can it be 4 million?
Yeah, because it was, yeah, it's about right.
Yeah,
Right.
22,
-19.
minus 19.7.
My
You want my
math,
phone? Put it in your phone.
you weren't in my math class, so you can't do that.
I think it'd be 6,892,942.
19,762, 485 is what I got.
There you go.
How much?
Taking off 22, 312, 945. Oh, 2 million, sorry, 2,550,460. My bad.
Off 2 million.
My
Just
bad.
again, just again.
2 million what?
2,550,460.
Good, that sounds a lot better. Thank you, Aaron, that sounds much better.
Yeah.
2,500,000.
Gotcha.
Well, I don't know if this is a statement or what need to be said, but I would strongly like to see these people get water, because it's been a long time, and we live in a county that's growing and it's fluential, I'll say. I think these rural areas definitely need water. I understand they need broadband too, but when you go to Walmart and see people hauling water, I think that's a pretty sad day with us as Wilson County growing as we are.
Okay, Mayor, you have some more to add to this?
I really don't. I was just going to ask for questions, I guess, to begin with on what was submitted, but
My,
I really don't.
could we go ahead tonight and approve the water, what they asked for right now? Let's take the time to consider all of these other things and work out what we can and can't do. And if there was to be any additional funds, which I very seriously doubt, we could add that back to the water at that point to give them a little more.
The only thing I would, two things to caution, I guess. One was, and I'm all for water, and that's why I brought the first thing. Our utility districts are getting a lot. And I sit and have to represent everybody in this county, and I'm excited about getting everybody water. But I have a hard time too saying if I got all of these needs out here, whether we like them or not, if I got all these needs, I do want our money to go as far as it can in the 5 areas it's there. So I'm already, the 4.5 they're getting, I don't know what the total is for the utilities right here, but
12,860, 12,8.
12.8.
yeah. So we got I got 16 million already going there. So if we say, hey, we don't want to do.
We've got 12 million, that other is not our money.
Yes, sir. That 4.5 is your money.
Well, but
And
it's
you-
got,
you
but it
got
already,
to-
but it's designated, right?
Just like this money is.
Yes, I
sir.
understand.
Yeah. So from my standpoint, I'm just saying that if she said this is 12 million and I've got 4.5, I got 16.5 going to utility districts.
Mhm.
And I've got 150,000 people there that I feel responsible for as well. So these other things are important to me as well. So to go through there and say, hey, look, I'm gonna kick this off so I give Chris some more money.
I didn't mean it that way.
I got you. I'll just tell you from my part. And then the second part is, whenever, and that's why I was like, not, I don't want, Diane called me today and she said, you ain't gonna make me make that decision right off the bat tonight. And she said after the first time I looked at it, and I said, well, we won't have 3 meetings on Public Works to approve the jail. We had 1. And it's a lot more than 28 million. So you can make, so I don't want you to have to make the call tonight, but as Aaron knows and I know, once you make that resolution, I don't know how long it'll take the Horn Group to approve it. So
That's why
we could say,
not.
we could say, hey, we can get the water out the door, but then everybody else suffers too. So, but I'm all for you making whatever resolution you want to tonight. I'm all for coming back on August the 9th and having more discussion, bringing more people. I'm not in a hurry either way. I do not care.
Well, it's not a hurry, but I really don't want to do anything that's going to cut the water. Because, like I said, it makes. I just think the water is very important. I understand everybody want broadband. I get that. I know the courthouse and all these other things needed too. But like I said, I hate to say this, but it's the way our property taxes are. And as much as people pay in property taxes, I feel like they deserve water. That's just.
And you're spending 16.5 million there.
I'm cool with that.
Thank you.
Question.
Well, question and a comment. These people in the 10 districts now, I don't know what the west end of the county, whatever, but the 10 districts in projects in Wilson County Water Authority, these people have waited forever, and they have no chance of ever getting water in those districts, in those areas, and they're not all my districts, but there's 10 projects there that those people haul water and have their whole lives, their families, their generations before them and before them. They've been, you know, promised, they've been, you know, they've had their hopes up, and we've had money sitting here for all these months where we could have already done a few things with this, and I know you wanted to wait to get it all in here. But in the meantime, people get sick, they get diseases, they have to, it's just a hardship on them all their lives, with every aspect of their life. I don't see why we have to continue to wait year after year in Wilson County, Tennessee, to see that our citizens do not have healthy drinking water when we have funds available. Even though we have grants coming down, because you know we can't get just any grant. We don't apply, we don't qualify for any grants. We used to until we got Mount Juliet, all the people there, and then Lebanon growing. But we can't qualify for any grants whatsoever. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to give the citizens of Wilson County what they need to survive.
So just to counter what you said, I don't think nobody in here said we don't want to do that. Yeah.
I understand.
And I haven't said it either. And I just said, I might make the point that we are giving, if you approve tonight this, 16.5 million out of the money that we got. The other thing that I say, and you can blame me for waiting, but I did think it was important, number one, that we waited on the rule that came out in April to make sure I was spending it right, because I'd be the one blamed for spending it the wrong way. The second thing is, we were also told with the turmoil in our country, don't spend that second check, Mayor, until you get it. And we didn't get that until June of this year. And they just said, hey, look, you know, till you get the money, don't allocate it. So, but now, should we have done it? Yeah, and you know, we sit here on money all the time, and I tried when I first got in 2010 to get money for Chris, and Chris said, that'd be great, you'd be the first one to ever give us any taxpayer dollars.
How'd that work out for you?
Exactly. I was there too.
Okay, what, the 16.5 million, where did that go?
So the 4.5 is the grant that we're gonna get, and then they said this was 12 million something here that you can work to grant this.
Well, is the 4.5 gonna be divided equally amongst the utility
It
districts?
was a million, and 1.5. Is what we're allowing them to apply for, unless we get a $500,000 project on the stormwater, which could be considered.
You know,
I will bring that back to you as well.
You know,
Yeah, that
all
would
of our
come back.
utility districts are very important, you know, but truth of the matter is, Wilson County's the one that has people who don't have access to public water.
Yep.
And,
Okay, Tommy, did you say you wanted to make a motion?
well, yes, I do. But somehow, I'd love for us to vote on the water tonight and take the time to go through the rest of it.
On the 9th?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a work session, no.
Hmm?
Can we do that on the
No,
night?
on the work
It's
session.
a work
It is a work
session.
session Tuesday night. You could change that advertisement to a meeting combination, so work session meeting if you want to take action that night. It still won't be in the package. You'll have to have the rules suspended if you vote on something on the following Monday.
So Tommy wanted to make a resolution tonight.
It'll be in the
Hey,
packet.
The water.
For the water districts that you see here,
Yeah.
we'd like to put that on the resolution to be approved by the county commission to be sent to the Horn Group
Yeah.
for, to be considered. And if it's, to be considered by the Horn Group, and if it's considered by the Horn Group and gets approval, then we'll make out the transaction of how we do that. And then we could, after the 9th, we could amend that resolution to anything that they brought up that they wanted to do on the 9th to go with that resolution.
One way to do it.
Yeah, just thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll have to change the meeting on the 9th.
To a
A full-fledged
meeting.
meeting.
to an action meeting. That's
can do
correct.
And that way you can vote.
Yep. So you
The
can
only,
make your
the
motion.
only thing that bothers me is the TDEC money. I'd love to see most of it go to put water in front of people's homes that don't have it. And you know that I represent Gladeville, and Gladeville's important, more important to me than anything, but we're fortunate enough, we all have drinking water.
Yeah. So that money comes in and is available for those 4 utility districts to apply for. So I could look at them and say, man, I ain't gonna let you apply. Chris is the only guy I got coming in here. I don't think that flies. I don't think it flies for a school card. Again, this is money that is allocated to me, and Chris, you can back me up on this or not, but you gotta apply for it, and it's gotta meet criteria. It's gotta meet certain criteria for it to actually go. So, I mean, that's where we are in the driver's seat, we're really not. And I'll bring it all back to you as well.
Well, I would
We
think-
got to score off
I
of
would
that.
think putting water to people would qualify.
It's gonna really, I think it really doesn't. I think if I understand right, Chris, there may be, this grant is a little bit different than getting new customer stuff. Am I
Correct.
right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's to what, Chris?
It's the TDEC grant, you can't serve new customers.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's
With-
for improvements.
Right, if the TDEC going through the scorecard is gonna be a challenge to
Okay.
get the funds
Well,
allocated.
it's sort of a different
These
set of
funds are
funds
different.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But it's still gonna be money that
I
only
understand,
people like get to.
but he can't use it to run new water line.
Correct.
Okay.
With these others, I believe, and I know they've already been through this in probably quite some detail, but it'll have to be formalized and we'll have to track it. I mean, it's not like it's listed down here, $5 million for the Wilson County Water and Wastewater Authority. The auditors would frown on me just writing them a check for $5 million.
Oh, I understand.
They gotta go do a project and submit invoices for reimbursement.
yeah.
and-
And I think to Aaron's conversation, and me and Chris has had this conversation, I knew you wasn't gonna give them $5 million without a detailed description of where
Oh,
Chris
yeah.
is never gonna try to get it. But Chris also cautioned me and said, me and Commissioner Kurtz had talked about, that's where I wanna spend that, but there could be some complications that come up and say I can't. And if he can't, that money just don't go away. It don't go to his pocket either. I mean, it's gotta be a transaction,
Comes
say,
back
he
and we
spends
get-
it, we pay him back for what he's done. So,
That's
but
invoices.
if he can get Cole Lane done, Cole Lane's gonna be done. But if there's something comes up that I can't do it, for whatever reason he runs into, then we're into that. But at least you know where the intent of it is to go, and none will be spent without the proper
Invoices.
that. And TDEC will not be, I will not send that out without bringing it back to you with a full explanation.
Well, I
So
mean,
you'll get that.
Like I say, you kind of explain then, that's really two separate sets of funds if you
That's
can't
right.
go to put
Okay.
new line in.
Tommy, did you make a motion?
No, not you.
That's what you really wanted to do, you made a motion?
I-
Yes,
well,
sir,
I
go
did- I thought I
ahead.
did.
Wait just a minute.
We
Yes.
do have full control over the ARP dollars though,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's where I'm going.
Right, so we can allocate those ARP dollars
To the water.
at 12 million anyway,
That's what we talked about.
and leave the TDEC money.
TDEC's even not even on the table tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's,
Well,
Stick to your
I just
water
said, you
target.
mentioned the 16 million, I just
I
don't want
just-
to
I
confuse
would-
the two. It would be 12 million going to the water authorities.
well, let me
What I
ask.
was telling you where I sit at is I've got, if I got 28 million and 4.5 more, I got 32.5 million. And I answer to everybody. So if I say I give all my money to the utility district, I mean, that's that part. I mean, and Jeff Jones can sit back and say, well, man, they need water. I agree. And I got some people that scream at me and say, I need broadband too, or I need whatever.
You need water to
And I
survive.
think the mayor and I talked about this, and I agree with Sarah that, and I represent everybody in my district.
That's right.
And this is only gonna serve a small portion, but pretty much everybody else in my district's got water.
This is
So,
for 10 projects,
you know,
throughout.
And I've said this before, I feel guilty, I went and spoke
Yeah.
to the water authority. 5 miles from right here, they don't have water, and that just doesn't make, you
Blows
gotta
your
pass my
mind.
house to get there.
Blows your mind.
And so I think that's what Tommy was alluding to, is that when you have water, you don't worry about it.
That's right.
And I understand we have other projects, but, you know,
Water's
this one
important.
is important.
We won't get this opportunity again.
Correct.
I hope not, anyway.
Tommy, let me make a motion and
Well, I'm
you,
sitting here.
and you can approve it if you want to.
Let
You
me
can-
ask one more question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can ask all the questions after the motion.
Well, but one more question. Being as this TDEC money is set aside for special projects, how much of this money that the other 3 utility districts asked for will qualify there?
So in that first packet I gave you, they gave specific
No, I
projects
understand, but-
that would qualify. The ones over here, they give them to me because I don't know if they would qualify or not. They could, but I don't know if they would. I know the ones they gave me,
You see where I'm
they've
going
already
with
looked at all the
this.
scorecard
You see where I'm going, right?
I think what you would like to say is, hey, we're gonna give Lagarda, Wes Wilson, and Ladle, about 4.5, let's give Chris the rest of it.
No, maybe not that much. But what I'm saying is we could increase that 5 million, take some from the other utility districts and then make it up with the TDEC money that qualifies for those projects they have.
Makes sense.
And that would allow Chris more money to run water line to people.
Makes sense.
Is that a thought or is that?
It's a good thought. We have more people need
All I'm
water.
trying to figure out is how to put as much water line in front of people's homes as we can. That's the only thing on my mind.
I think he asked for 5 million and the other people asked for that, and you could grant that tonight. I mean, you could say, hey, I'm gonna put it all in one spot, and that'd be your call.
If we all vote that way, we could grant the whole 14 million, but
I'd like to see
that's
that.
not what we
28.
wanna do. I'm just saying, how do we get as much to people that don't have access to water as we can? I just wanna make sure we're doing all we can to do that. I'm not saying.
I appreciate your focus on the water, and I got it. I'm not fighting it. I'm just saying that everything that's asked for there helps somebody, helps a citizen that lives in this county. Whether it's a 211 service or whether it's your self-insurance fund for your people, where it's air conditioning for the people that don't have it in the basement of this courthouse every day. I mean, each one of those helps citizens. Now, and they all think that help is important, just like those people that think water's important. I mean, I got that. I lived on a well for a long time, and lived on sulfur for a long time.
We're talking about
And
people
there's a
who
lot
don't
of
have
folks
wells.
up there that ain't got those wells. They don't
And
sulfur and all.
And I lived in one of those houses too on Old Statesville Road. I'll tell you about it. Yeah, so I'm with you.
Okay, I want to ask a question. If something we said a while ago, we could approve the water project tonight, have a action meeting on Tuesday, and amend that resolution. Does that amending the resolution include the water part or not?
In my opinion, if say Tommy said, hey, those 4 utility districts have requested this amount of money, I'd like to make that resolution to go forward tonight. Then that's what Mike would print up and have it ready. And then on the 9th, y'all may decide to do 2 or 3 more, whatever you want to do. We could amend the resolution on the floor based on that workshop that we have and add other projects. Because like we said, we don't have to do them all, but if you want to change the game or amend the resolution after tonight on Tuesday night, you could do that. Add things, take things away.
If that's the case, why don't we just put it all off till Tuesday?
Because it won't be in the packet, you have to suspend the rules.
Okay, never
I'd like
mind.
to see us do something with the water for now.
I'd say, I would
I know we're sitting here going around, but.
Make a motion.
Okay.
Make the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to pass the water projects as submitted.
Second.
I'm not done yet.
I'm still just, as long as you say water that somebody can wash their rear, I'm good with it. Go on.
I don't know, we'll put that in the resolution.
Oh, don't do
Okay.
that. Rear part.
Or do I need to make, I'll ask this, do I need to make 2 different motions concerning coming back Tuesday?
Get this resolution passed and we'll talk about what to do Tuesday.
Right.
Okay, because this is a 2-parter, so we got a second. Any additional discussion concerning the water? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, second part is that I feel like we need to allow other folks to come in and discuss this and any other thing they may want to bring up. So we do need to have a meeting on Tuesday, but what I would like to do is recess this meeting and to reconvene on 5 o'clock Tuesday.
August 9th.
And you still have your work session.
Can we make it 6?
You want to do your work session at 5 and your meeting at 6?
He's going to scratch the work session and just do a recess of the meeting and start it back on the 9th.
You can do
Right?
that.
No need for a work session. We're going to have a recess of the meeting. You can we do it at 6?
So you want to have the work session at 5 and meeting at
No
6,
work
or
session.
just the
Scratches on
meeting?
I don't need a work session. If you're gonna recess a meeting, that's a good deal.
Okay.
So we'll come back at 6 if that's okay.
Okay, but we're going to give people an opportunity to give input.
You can do that at your meeting.
So the question I got is this, so you want me to bring in who? I don't need to bring anybody for the sewer line for the WEMA station. That's either an up or down thing. I don't need to bring people, I mean, if you need more explanation on the $800, $800,000 for the DTC and United Communications, I can bring those people back, but they have submitted that. If you wanted me to drill down in there, I can ask them to come in and talk if that's what you need.
Was that what you were going to do with the work session?
Nope. We're just gonna have more time to talk about
No.
it, just in case you want to talk about it. But otherwise, we'll just meet and discuss it. Y'all will have the packet to look at. Call me with any questions you got. I'll get you any information you need, and then when we come back for that, you can really talk about it more.
Can we advertise that this meeting is going to be reconvened on 5 o'clock Tuesday? For
Right,
anybody?
6 is gonna be recessed.
For anybody that wants to come?
Yeah, it'll be a public meeting.
Yes, sir.
You said very early in this thing that for people, if they wanted to be here, to be available for questions.
Yes, sir.
But I'm gonna adopt the Tommy Jones theory now. When they see what money you got left and they come in and say, I'll raise what, I said I needed $1.5 million, I really need 2. And all of a sudden you got more. You know what I mean, I think, personally, I think y'all stay with what's on there.
Yeah.
Voted up or down.
But you'd rather meet at 6 o'clock?
Please.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, and I thought where we headed early was that we needed 2.5 million. We'd say, well, just take it as a capital project and put it on, or whatever. But that's the difference of where we're at right now.
So when you leave tonight, the motion will be to recess until Tuesday night at 6 o'clock.
Yes, sir. And I'll call Sonya tomorrow.
So that is the understanding that
Yeah,
we've
please.
already approved the water project, correct?
It's going to the county commission.
Gotcha.
You ain't done anything yet but recommended.
Right.
That's good.
I think I'm hearing 13 votes around the room.
Okay, the motion has been made to recess till 6 o'clock Tuesday. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any old business?
I thought you just recessed.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do that, can I?
Yeah.
Never mind. Oh,
Yeah, unless you want
I'm sorry. No, forget I said that. Okay.